Hi friends, this is Rupa. Today I'll be talking about the pathophysiology of novel coronavirus. That is, let's try to understand what really happens inside the body of the person who is infected with novel coronavirus. So before that, let's try to understand how this virus enters our body. So there are three possible ways the virus can enter our body. That is, by inhaling the respiratory droplets. So when a person who is already infected with coronavirus, when he sneezes or coughs, he ejects out respiratory droplets. And when a normal person comes in contact with these respiratory droplets, he inhales these droplets and gets infected. Second way is by having a physical contact with the person who is infected with coronavirus. The third possible way is by touching the surfaces or the objects which is contaminated with the coronavirus. So now let's continue to understand what happens when this virus enters our body. So this virus which has entered the body will now go and attack our respiratory system. So they enter the respiratory system and they enter the lungs. So once they enter the lungs, they go and attack this alveoli. The small dots you can see inside this lungs are alveoli. The expanded form of this looks like this. This is alveoli, which is immediately surrounded by a blood capillary. So this alveoli's major function is to exchange the oxygen and carbon dioxide with the blood. That is, when we inhale air, the oxygen present in the air gets inside the alveolus and oxygen in turn gets exchanged to the blood, and the carbon dioxide which is already present in the blood will then move out into the alveoli and is thrown out of the body. So this is the major function of alveoli, and let us now know what this alveoli is made up of. Alveoli is made up of two types of cells, that is type 1 epithelial cells and type 2 epithelial cells. Type 1 epithelial cells function is to help in the exchange of gases between alveoli and blood capillary. And type 2 epithelium's function is to maintain the decreased surface tension inside the alveoli and to prevent the alveolus from collapsing. That is, this surface will have the elastic nature, and the elastic nature is due to the surfactants secreted by this type 2 epithelial cells. So this is how the alveoli looks and functions in a healthy person. So now in case of coronavirus infection, the virus has entered the respiratory system and it has entered the alveolus. Inside the alveolus, they get attracted to the type 2 epithelial cells. So these bigger cells are type 2 epithelial cells. They go and attach themselves onto the surface of type 2 epithelial cells. So once they attach to the surface, they inject their genetic material inside this cell. So upon entry, this genetic material will make use of the cell protein and undergoes replication, producing thousands of viruses. So once the viral load inside this cell increases, this cell will now burst open, releasing the viral particles into this region, into the alveolus. So now this damaged type 2 epithelial cell, what it does is, it will now start secreting chemicals called specific inflammatory mediators. So these mediators in turn attract and activate the immune system of immune cells of our body. So the major immune cells that gets activated are macrophages and neutrophil. These two cells are brought into this site of infection. So now what does this activated neutrophils and macrophages do to the alveolus? So this activated macrophage, it will now start secreting cytokines, that is interleukin 1, interleukin 6, interleukin 8 and TNF alpha. These cytokines now will start to move out of the alveolus and enter the blood capillary. That is, under high concentration of virus particles, the secretion of these cytokines also will be at higher concentration, and at this high concentration they will start moving out of the alveoli sac and enter the blood capillary. Once they enter the blood capillary, they then reach the brain through the blood. And once they reach the brain, these cytokines now will stimulate the hypothalamus region inside the brain. So under normal conditions, this hypothalamus acts as a thermostat. That is, it will regulate our body temperature depending upon the changing external environment. So that's the function of hypothalamus. Now in the presence of these cytokines, that is interleukin 1, interleukin 6, interleukin 8 and TNF alpha, the hypothalamus gets stimulated, and in response to that stimulation, what hypothalamus does is it will increase the body temperature of the person. So this increase in the body temperature is nothing but fever. So the person who is infected with coronavirus will have a symptom of high fever. So we would have seen nowadays in the news channels that anyone, due to this pandemic, anyone who is coming to the airport, doctors are checking their body temperatures, because this fever is the first main symptom that is shown by the person who is infected with coronavirus. So moving on. So now I told these cytokines which were secreted by the macrophages will move from the alveoli into the blood capillary. In doing so, they will rupture this alveolus and blood capillary membranes. So what happens now is the blood plasma which is flowing in the blood capillary through these spaces will now enter these empty spaces, fill them and then enter into the alveolus. So what important thing we now have to understand is, in a person who is normal without any infection, his alveoli sac is filled only with the air. But due to the viral infection and movement of immune cells from the alveolus to the capillary, there is a membrane breakage that has happened. As a result, the cells will start moving and this entire alveolus will be filled with the protein-rich plasma. And this protein-rich plasma is technically called as pulmonary edema. So now, due to the accumulation of protein-rich plasma, the oxygen which has entered inside the alveolus is not able to diffuse into the blood now, because the entire alveolus is filled with blood plasma. As a result, now blood will be devoid of oxygen. That is, it will have very less amount of oxygen. So this condition where the blood has very less oxygen or the blood is deficient of oxygen leads to hypoxia. So what happens under hypoxia conditions is the person has to breathe in more. Why he has to breathe in more is he has to take a lot of air and breathe more number of times, because he has to push out all this blood plasma that has entered the alveoli and also expand the alveolus to its normal shape. So to do that, he has to breathe harder, he has to breathe more. Breathing more means his respiratory rate will become more. With the increase in the respiratory rate, his heart rate also becomes more. So this is the second type of symptom shown by the person who is infected with coronavirus. He will not be able to breathe properly. He experiences difficulty in breathing. Next, I told apart from macrophages, neutrophils also come into the site of infection. Normally these neutrophils will be flowing inside this blood capillary, and due to the rupture and due to the infection they start moving inside the alveolus now. And once they reach alveolus, they get activated there and they start producing two chemicals called reactive oxygen species or oxidases and proteases. So these two chemicals now in turn will act on the virus, trying to kill them. While trying to kill the virus, they also mistakenly kill this healthy cells, that is type 1 epithelial cells and type 2 epithelial cells. So as a result, there is a lot of cell damage and cell death that is happening, and all that starts accumulating in this central region of the alveolus. So now again the oxygen movement into the blood has been hampered. So now what happens is the body will now sense this and will try to put out this cell death and debris matter out of the body by coughing. That is, the person will start coughing more. So this is a third symptom that is experienced by the person who is infected with the novel coronavirus. So apart from high fever, difficulty in breathing and intense cough, the person will also have other symptoms. So he might show symptoms like headache, he might have vomiting, he might have sore throat, he might have diarrhea also. So even after experiencing all these symptoms, even then the person neglects this, then the infection becomes severe. So what happens then? So when the infection becomes severe, the inflammation in the lungs also becomes severe. The dead and debris matter accumulation becomes more and more day by day, and the person will not have the energy to push out this dead matter outside his body. That is, his body cells would be already tired of doing that coughing. So what now? He will now depend on the external things. That is, he will now need the support of life supporting system like ventilators now. He will put on ventilators. Meanwhile, since the infection is become severe inside the body, the virus starts spreading through different parts of the body. It will start through the blood. So it will start reaching heart, kidney, lung, liver, and start affecting those organs now. As a result, these organs becomes now damaged. So with this damaged organs and difficulty in the breathing, the person will experience death. That is, he will die. So this is what happens to the person who is infected with coronavirus. Now, we are all scared of this coronavirus. Why? Because its spreading capacity is very high. Take for example, if one person gets infected with coronavirus, he will be able to infect 3 people. One person can infect 3 people. Now these 3 people individually will infect 3 other people. That is, these 3 people will now infect totally 9 people. And these 9 people again can infect, if when neglected, will infect 27 people, and 27 becomes 81, and this chain continues. So what we can see is, what these numbers tell us is, there is an exponential increase in the spread of the disease. That means within a very less time, there number of people will get infected with this disease. Within a weeks of time, or within 2 weeks of time, thousands of people are being infected. And this is very dangerous. Such kind of spreading is very dangerous. So that's when self-quarantine becomes very important. Only with self-quarantine we can avoid the spread of disease. So friends, take self-quarantine very seriously and please choose yourself to undergo self-quarantine if you experience all these symptoms. So maintain hygiene and stay safe. We can definitely fight coronavirus and eradicate this disease. Thank you.